Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sukaja, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about two books that I read in the month of November. So November was a really good reading month for me, and I managed to read about 4 books, and you've already seen those book reviews on my channel. In this video I'm just going to talk about 2 books that I read by the same author, Madeline Miller. So I read Circe and I read The Song of Achilles, both by Madeline Miller, written over a course of I think a decade but spaced out. And I just thought I will tell you what I felt about both these books and what differences I see in terms of the books themselves. I started off by reading The Song of Achilles. This turned out to be really gripping and a page turner, to say the least. This book is about Achilles, who is this really famous war hero, and his love story with Patroclus. So Patroclus is a character in Greek mythology who didn't receive as much recognition or didn't receive as much fame as Achilles did, who is called the best of the Greeks. Patroclus actually grew up with Achilles, and a lot of the things that Madeline Miller tries to do in this book is to try and reinsert Patroclus into the narrative of Achilles. By telling this story, she also highlights the LGBTQIA aspect, which is that Patroclus was gay, and these are theories. It's a very similar thing to what happens in Hamlet by Maggie O'Farrell, where she, gives life into Shakespeare's wife's character as she might have been in history. So in this book you see Achilles and how the relationship between him and Patroclus really played a pivotal role in him winning the war against the Trojans and getting fame. This is perfect for people who haven't really got a great understanding of Greek mythology. It's completely fine to approach this book even if you just are familiar with certain names. Like, I went into this not knowing much. I had barely just watched the Troy film and that was about it. So having a bit of basic knowledge does help, otherwise every character is going to seem really new to you. I really enjoyed this in that sense, but I felt the writing style wasn't as great as it is in Circe. Circe was written much after, and I think both the books were shortlisted for different prizes. This was shortlisted for the Orange Prize for Fiction, and it is a historical fiction book, whereas this is a Women's Prize for Fiction shortlisted novel, and the center of this is a woman, whereas the center of this is a man. I think personally Madeline Miller is very good at telling the story of females as opposed to men. I would say that if I had to rate these 2 books, I would rate this one a little higher, simply because I found it to be more in depth, and I found this writing in this to be really detailed and atmospheric and immersive as opposed to the writing in this. But what I liked about this is that she really makes a point, and even though it doesn't take her as many pages as it did in Circe, in this it really she makes a point about giving the limelight to this character who is forgotten in history. And the one thing I felt about this is that the sentences kind of tend to break a little, like there are stops, abrupt stops in paragraphs, and that kind of jilts the reader back to reality and makes it hard for the reader to kind of read in a flow, So that was the only thing I noticed. Otherwise the story is pretty foolproof and the plot is very foolproof as well. It's really entertaining and thoroughly a real page turner, but it doesn't give you like a 360-degree understanding of any one of the characters, neither Achilles nor Patroclus. Whereas this book, on the other hand, this is more like a biography of Circe, because it's very detailed. It talks to you about her life right from when she was a small girl to when she becomes almost a middle-aged woman. And the end is pretty open-ended, and I really liked how she wound up the novel, because I think writing this would have been really challenging. While I'm aware Madeline Miller took 10 years to write this novel, I still felt like maybe she took more to write this one, because this is so thoroughly researched and full of detail. It really provides you insight into Circe's every encounter, Circe's every famous adventure that she might have gone on. All of that is kind of dealt with really well in this book, and that's why I particularly enjoyed this. But after you start reading the first few chapters, there is a part in this book that feels like a bit of a drag, and then it picks up again. There are scenes in this book where in Circe's life you feel like you're sitting on the edge of your seat. It does kind of, make you want to read really quickly. So that is what I really enjoyed about this novel. This book, I'll just read a paragraph that I really liked in this book, but in terms of the writing style, it was largely forgettable. This paragraph goes something like this. True, but fame is a strange thing. Some men gain glory after they die, while others fade. What is admired in one generation is abhorred in another. We cannot say who will survive the Holocaust of memory. Who knows? He smiles. Perhaps one day even I will be famous, perhaps more famous than you. This is largely about mortals and this is largely about a goddess. So there's huge contrast in terms of what the author is trying to do in both these books. I would definitely suggest reading this first because Odysseus features in this book and he also features in this book, not to be a spoiler or anything, but the characters, they do kind of recur a few of them and there is an overlapping aspect to a lot of these Greek myth retellings. But I think it was a great place to start. Reading both these books was worth it. I'm glad that I started with this. And these books are so different. While there is huge focus on the relationship that these two characters have, Achilles and Patroclus, on this book is largely about Circe's struggles, her life as an independent mother, her life as a banished god dealing with loneliness. And I felt like the first bits in this book that deal with her isolation and her feeling of not being wanted, feeling like somebody who is undeserving of people's attention. That is something I could really empathize with, and it really got straight in my heart as a reader. This characterization is brilliant, and yeah, I loved the empowerment involved, how she realizes the capabilities of her powers. Her story is very uplifting as a whole, and I think it was a great decision to write this book. I'm looking forward to more by Madeline Miller. It really helped before reading this book to have a prior knowledge of Greek mythology, and I think I previously read a poem about Odysseus' journey and how he's in love with his wife Penelope and travels across different hurdles in order to get to her, and I think that really helped me understand and absorb this novel at a much deeper level than I would have otherwise if I hadn't had that background knowledge. Lots of lovely Greek mythological retellings out there, and I'm really keen to explore this genre further. For historic fiction fans, do approach this book. It's really worth it, and it's a total entertaining page turner from start to finish. I also went into this Greek myth phase during the reading of these books and I wanted more. So there was this Netflix show called The Blood of Zeus. It's an animated TV show. It's a little bit dark and gory, but I absolutely enjoyed binging it while being in the process of reading these two books. So let me know if you've read these books already, if you're planning to read them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel also. I don't know if I've already told you this, but please do. It would mean a lot. I will be back soon with more bookish content. Hope you enjoyed this comparison. Stay safe, stay sane, and I will see you soon. Bye.